Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Sidoroff, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to a series of conversations I've had recently with Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote the best-selling book, The Biology of Belief. And in this series of talks, we discuss the findings and suggestions from his book about how to live an optimal life, how to take personal responsibility for your life, his perspective on stress, and other very important life enhancing ideas. So here's the first. I hope you enjoy it. Today, to have with us a guest that I've read his Biology of Belief many years ago and was tremendously struck by that. And Bruce Lipton is our guest. He's a cell biologist and an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. And I just mentioned his best-selling book, The Biology of Belief, and he has a few other books as well. Bruce, welcome to our program.
So happy you invited me to participate in, and that is to empower our listeners to recognize that you're not victims of the world, you're creators of this world, and that if you understand some aspects of that creation, it can enhance your life profoundly. So thank you guys for letting me join you and play in this room of empowerment.
Great, great. Let's begin by, one of the early comments in your book, you talk about early in your career, some of your aha moments that led you into this field. Can you share some of that with our audience, Bruce?
Well, very quickly, basically, I was teaching students, especially medical students, the concept of something called genetic determinism. That was a belief at the time that said genes control the character of your life. And I have to emphasize, because we program the public to believe about this power of the genes. And I say, well, if genes control your life, as far as you know, did you pick the genes you came with? And I go, no, not necessarily. I don't know. Can you change the genes if you don't like them? I go, no, you can't do that either. And then I add on top, and the genes turn on and off by themselves. And all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, that information makes me a victim of my heredity. The genes control me. I don't control them. And that's where people start to get the belief, oh my God, there's cancer running in my family. I can get the cancer, Alzheimer's running, diabetes. These are genes and they come into me and I'm just a victim. That's what we were programming. But my research on stem cells, which are embryonic cells in your body, and well, let's give a reason why stem cells so people understand. A human body is made out of about 50 trillion cells. And the cells are the living entity. Me, I'm a community. Bruce is the name for a community of 50 trillion cells. I look like an entity, a single entity, but if you had a microscope, you go, no, he's got 50 trillion citizens in there. And I go, so the significance of all this is that these 50 trillion cells, many of them die very quickly. It's turnover is very quick. Red blood cells turn over very quickly. The skin cells are turning over very fast, and we're losing cells, and we're losing, the entire digestive tract from mouth to anus. Trillions of cells are replaced every 3 days. And everything goes, well, wait a minute, what do you mean they're replaced? I said, well, they're dying. We're losing cells by the millions every minute. Just millions of cells just popped off. I go, whoa, this is scary. I go, why? Because if I can't replace millions of cells, then I don't have a very long life in front of me. I go, no, you don't. But we have in our community what are called stem cells, which the original name was embryonic cells. But once you were born, we had to change the name. You're not an embryo, so now we call them stem cells. They're embryonic cells that replace all the ones that are dying. Do you have embryonic stem cells in your body? Well, if you're watching this program, then yes, you do, because you wouldn't have been alive long enough to watch this. So all of us have stem cells. And I go, so what? I said, well, I was cloning stem cells. That just means I take one stem cell, put it in a dish by itself, in a culture dish, and it divides every 10 or 12 hours. So I start with one cell, then there's 2, then there's 4, 8, 16, doubling. At the end of the week, I have 30,000 cells in the Petri dish. Recognize one important fact. All cells came from the same single parent. So that meant all 30,000 cells are genetically identical. Well, I split the cells up into 3 Petri dishes. So 3 dishes, but they all have genetically identical cells. And I feed cells in a tissue dish, something we call culture medium that we make in the lab. I go, but what is culture medium? This is going to come back and get us in a minute. Culture medium is the laboratory version of blood. I go, so what does that mean? I say, cells grow in an environment the same in the body where the blood is the environment. And so I make the tissue culture medium in the lab by mixing the components together, but I can change some of the composition, which in my experiment, I made 3 different versions of culture medium. Culture medium is the environment in which the cells are living. So I have 3 different environments. I say, so what? I say, well, in culture dish 1 with environment A, the cells form muscle. In culture dish 2 with environment B, the cells form bone. And in culture dish 3 with environment C, the cells form fat cells. There's one profound conclusion, and that is this: what controls the fate of the cells? And the answer is they were all genetically identical. The only thing that was different was the environment. And all of a sudden, back in 1967, I'm doing this research while teaching genes control life in the classroom. In the laboratory, it's like, no, the cells are telling me, no, it's the environment that is controlling the genes. And I go, oh, wow, this is profoundly different, isn't it? I say, what's the difference? I said, in the classroom, genetic determinism is teaching people are victims of their heredity. In the laboratory, the cells are telling me, change the environment, you change the genetics. And I go, well, wait a minute. I control the environment. I go, yeah. And then all of a sudden I said, well, then I'm not a victim of my genes. Since I control the environment, I'm controlling their fate. I go, yes. So all of a sudden, then you're no longer a victim. You're a master of your genetics.